Welcome into our Saints post-game show. The Saints fall 51-27 to the Bucs alongside Scott Shanley, John DeShazer, I'm Aaron Summers. This one was a game at the half. The Saints within reach. It was just 27-24. However, things got a little crazy in the second half. JD, what was the difference after the half?
Well, we saw some poor tackling. That was a major problem defensively, and I think Tampa Bay just decided to blitz a little bit more, heat it up, see if Spencer Rattler could handle it. Obviously, they were successful, so they didn't go away from it. But from the Saints' perspective, defensively, the tackling was atrocious. I don't know a different way to say it. They couldn't get guys on the ground even when they got to the guy, and that's been a problem that's been this season long, and that's something that has to be rectified. It's got to be fixed.
Scott, when you look at the things that the defense wasn't doing well in the second half, you look at explosive plays, again, the missed tackles.
Yeah.
What was the issue?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. They got down early, 17-0, off a short week. The Buccaneers had kind of a mini bye. They played a Thursday before against Atlanta, and I think you saw that freshness factor start to kick in some. Usually that's what happens when you start to see shoddy tackling and not wrapping up and shoulder tackles. Tampa Bay just wore the Saints team out, I think. As the game went along, whether it was along the line of scrimmage in the trenches or just in open space and making tackles, they looked like the rest of the team and were the more physical team throughout the game.
You look at injuries in this one, there were a couple that were pretty significant. You lose Tyrann Mathieu early in this game, and then Jonathan Abram goes out. Those are your two starting safeties. How does that have an effect on things?
Well, if you lose Tyrann, then you lose a leader. You lose a productive player, and now suddenly, you're trying to fill it in. And Jonathan Abram did come back in, but Jordan Howden comes in, play for Tyrann. We saw JT Gray out there for a couple of snaps, so it makes the next man have to step up. And when you're the next man stepping up for a Hall of Famer, that's difficult because Tyrann knows this offense. He's productive in this defense. He's productive in this defense. And when you don't have him, you don't have that leadership, that productivity, it shows.
Big play in the beginning of this game is the fumble where Chris Olave goes down, huge hit. He goes out with a concussion early, and the Bucs go on to take a 17-0 lead. How difficult is that to come back from?
It's difficult, especially you're going into this game and you're saying, all right, defense, we need to step up. Running game, we need to step up. We need to help out our rookie quarterback. We can't put it all on him. And this game started off about the worst way you could imagine. Going down 17-0, and now you sit there and you think, okay, now we're going to have to drop back and throw the ball 60 times. Not ideal for a rookie quarterback. But all those things flipped in the second quarter, scoring 27 points, and a lot of it was takeaways. Rashid's big punt return for a touchdown gave the Saints a chance to get back in the game. But the second half, it was a physical mismatch in the second half when it came to the line of scrimmage and the ability to run the ball. Tampa Bay rushing for nearly 300 yards. You're not going to win many games when you allow a team to control the line of scrimmage like that.
Nearly 277, which is a franchise best for them on the ground, and a lot of it came from two players, Tucker and Irving. It was really hard to stop both of those. But overall, 594 yards from the Bucs. I mean, that's just difficult for any team, and it came down a lot to the defense and their inability to get those stops when it mattered. Unfortunately, today in the red zone, the Bucs are 4 of 5, and that had been an area that the Saints really had been able to lock down. And then third down, another area. I mean, JD, we talked about it before the game started, that needed to be better. The Bucs were 6 of 10 on third down, so 60% there. What does this defense have to do going forward?
Well, this defense it got the takeaways today, but it has to tackle better, obviously. It's got to find ways to get off the field, though. And I think Scott did hit the nail on the head. This did look like a worn-down defense. They played Monday night at Kansas City, and now you come back on a short week. Tampa Bay did have the mini-bye. They're able to get to New Orleans, get their legs rested, get out here and practice, and they look like the fresher team. And now we're talking about an even shorter week for the Saints, who are even more beat up now. So they got to be able to get off their feet. They got to be able to get some rest, but they got to be able to get off the field on defense. Those third downs, when you're talking about 6 of 10, that extends drives. You're on the field for more plays, and you're more apt to be tired and miss those tackles and those kinds of things.
All right, JD, we're going to let you get off the field and get over there for some interviews. Good luck, and we'll check in with you later.
I'm going to need it.
Scott, he brought up the defense and how tired they are. And yes, the next game is going to be Thursday, right back here against the Broncos. What does the defense have to do mentally? I mean, obviously the first thing is to try to get your body right, but mentally to get back in this.
Yeah, these are gut check times during the season. Every team kind of has these stinkers throughout the season where tomorrow you're going to go into film. You're not really going to want to watch it, but you're going to have to watch it. And you're going to have to admit the things you're doing not so well. And there were things they did well today. Taking the football away as many times as they did, they got the Saints back into this game, but it was the entire second half. They're going to really critique the second half of this game film, and it's really going to come down to the run game, the run defense. You have to be more stout on the line of scrimmage when it comes to defense, and a lot of guys out of their gaps, those things matter. But JD talked about it a lot. We already talked about it a lot. The tackling. You have to wrap up in this league. You can't really shoulder tackle people. When you try to shoulder tackle people, you end up with the result that you got with 277 yards rushing.
Yeah, I mean, there was that 55-yard touchdown where there were several missed tackles there that made it 31-27. So still at that point, the Saints were in this game at the half. They had the lead 27-24. They go down 17-0 early. Then that second quarter, they scored 27 points in that second quarter, forced 3 interceptions on Baker Mayfield, who had only 2 in the entire first 5 games of the season heading into this one. In that second quarter, what worked?
Well, I think we talked a lot about what went bad for the Saints in the third and fourth quarter. And yes, it was a difference in the game, and giving up 51 points is horrible. But to your point, the second quarter, the Saints defense was the reason it became a game. I mean, down 17-0, you think, oh gosh, we have a rookie quarterback. We're never going to get back into this thing. It was taking the football away. It was batting down passes. It was guys making plays when those balls did get tipped in the air. And then to me, the play of the first half was Rashid's punt return for a touchdown. When you score on special teams, like this team is defying all odds when it comes to if you score on special teams, you're supposed to win like 90% of NFL games. When you take away the football, they're just finding other ways to hurt themselves. But when it comes to the things you want to do well, you want to be productive in special teams and you want to take the football away, they're still doing those things.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, the Saints were able to back the Bucs up deep in the end zone there. They were forced to punt from the end zone, and it was a short punt, and Rashid was able to run it back for a score, and that was a huge moment and really helped to take some pressure off of the Saints offensively with their rookie quarterback, Spencer Rattler. 3,000-foot view here, though. How did Rattler do in his debut?
Yeah, I think, again, just like the defense, it was the first half versus the second half grade. I give Spencer an A for the first half. I thought he was outstanding in the first half. The second half, maybe a C-. The turnovers, maybe a D+. You can't turn the football over in this league, but they got into the point where he had to throw the ball. I think it's tough to ask a rookie quarterback. I don't care if you're the number 1 overall pick in the draft. It took Caleb Williams, 5 games to learn how to throw the ball from the pocket. This is Spencer's first game. What really worked for this Saints team was in the first half, doing the bootlegs, the misdirection plays, keeping the defense on their heels. Spencer had 1 or 2 receivers, high, low, or run. And that's where he really excels, is in that type of offense.
We saw a lot of different players get in on the action as well. Rattler hooking up with Bub Means for Means' first NFL touchdown and for Rattler's first touchdown. That's the first time that the Saints have ever had a rookie starting quarterback in his first game connect with another rookie who had not scored. So that was at least something historic there, to see some of these young players have some moments where things were working.
Absolutely. There's a big difference from going from college football to the NFL, obviously. Most of these guys' reps were in the preseason. And the preseason, we all know, is dialed back. It's really vanilla. You're not really running, these extravagant offense and defenses. Now you come into the regular season and, Tampa Bay is just ringing the house at a rookie quarterback, and he's like, last time I was in the preseason, we were running cover 2 every play. So it's a big adjustment for him. But, it was good to see him distributing the ball. You don't want to lose a guy like Chris Olave early in the game, and they did that. But still, he was finding guys. Him and Bub probably threw the ball a lot together, being rookies and going through the offseason together. So there's a little bit of chemistry developing there, and that was good to see.
Also, the tight ends got involved a lot more in this one, which is something we hadn't seen a lot of when Derek Carr was in as quarterback.
Yeah, I think Coach Kubiak does an outstanding job with the tight ends in this offense. And I know I always compare this offense to the 49ers, and you look at George Kittle, what he does. But it is a tight end-friendly offense. You look at today, the one play where they faked it and Foster acted like he was going to go across the field, and then he went vertical and he was wide open. Those are play designs that you got to give the coaches a lot of credit for. And credit to Spencer for finding him and seeing it and delivering a good ball.
Yeah, it was good to see Juwan Johnson getting some more receptions, and then Foster Moreau as well, because Taysom Hill not available again to go in this one. So that's 2 straight games without Taysom Hill. We're going to go ahead and throw this one to the podium. Head coach Dennis Allen is here.
It was not good enough. It wasn't good enough from a coaching standpoint. It wasn't good enough from a playing standpoint. and we've got a lot of getting better to do, and we got a short time to do it. And so, we need to get some guys healthy, but we've got to play better than we did today in all areas.
What do you think happened in the second half? Like second quarter, you guys kind of had some fire, got the turnovers.
Yeah, well, we didn't tackle. I think that was the biggest thing. I mean, I thought our tackling was atrocious in the game. And so, when you don't tackle, you give up explosive plays and you give up big plays, and then it just kind of snowballed on us a little bit, but it was not good enough.
Dennis, this team has never given up this many points or yards since you've been either coordinator or head coach. How do you account for that, and kind of what do you see when you look at those numbers on the stat sheet?
We have to tackle better. I mean, I thought that was the biggest thing in the game. We didn't tackle in the game, and look, let's make no mistake about it. I mean, when it comes to the defense, that's on me. I got to do a better job with our guys. I got to make sure we understand what we're doing. We got to do more tackling drills. We got to, whatever the case may be. But it was not a good defensive performance at all. And look, I mean, that needs to be an area that we can count on. And it's been an area that we can count on, but right now it's not.
Dennis, is there any today?
I thought overall, he did some good things. I mean, there were some encouraging things, some things that he's going to learn from, from a mistake standpoint on his part. I don't think we did enough around him to help him. I mean, it was hard for us to be able to run the football. I thought they really won the kind of the interior part of the line of scrimmage, really probably on both sides of the ball. I think they won the line of scrimmage. I thought he did some things really well early in the game, and in particular the first half. And then, as the second half kind of went on, I thought, they started to pressure him a little bit more, we weren't able to be as good in protection, and, it made it more challenging for him.
Dennis, was there any commonality, any common thread you could find in the problems with the tackling? Was there sort of one thing, or is there anything?
Well, look, I mean, I think part of it's angles, okay? It's technique, all right? It's wrapping up, so there's a lot of fundamental things that we're not good enough with the tackling. And I think it starts with, leverage and angles. That's where it starts, and then the fundamental of actually making a tackle. We've got to do a better job of wrapping up. But that's 2 weeks in a row that we haven't done a good job of tackling, and that's probably our biggest concern. You talk about explosive plays. A lot of those are coming, on underneath plays that become explosive plays.
Is that something you can fix in 4 days?
It's something we better fix in 4 days.
How does something like that spring up from a strength to I mean, is there a rhyme or reason?
I don't really know. You know what I mean? I don't have that answer right now as to what that challenge is. But I think, one of the areas it starts with is, being able to put yourself in a position to be able to get off the field. And when you get off the field, you play less plays. And so I think that's part of our issue too.
Is how much of tackling technique versus just effort?
Well, I think it's a combination of both, I think later on in the game, I think we could have attacked the ball carrier a little bit more. And so we'll look at the tape, but it was not good enough. And I got to do a better job.
Dennis, after a game like this, do you welcome a game then on a Thursday night?
Yeah, you're probably a little too early to ask me that question.
What's the mindset like right now? I mean, you got some real key leaders also out. Tyron, Jason,
Yeah.
Derek. I mean, the leadership of the team.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's look, it's challenging, but we can't sit here and sulk and moan. We got to figure out how we're going to get better. I told the team in there, we got to get better, and we got a short period of time to do it. And everybody needs to look at themselves, coaches, players, everybody, all right, and make sure we're doing everything we possibly can to get this thing going in the right direction, because right now it's not where we want it to be.
Going back to what you were saying a minute ago about maybe not attacking the ball carrier at the end of the game, are you saying you felt like some of the guys weren't giving complete effort? Like, was there anything that?
I'm saying we missed a lot of tackles and we need to do a better job of tackling.
When you say coaching obviously can be a part of the equation, was there anything on any of those plays in particular where schematically backfired on you guys?
Well, look, we made a couple of changes as the game went on in terms of how we were setting our front to try to, deal with some of the run plays that we were getting. I don't think we did a great job of crack replace. I just think we played poorly, and when you do that, obviously you got to look at yourself as a coach, myself, all the coordinator, position coaches. I think we all got to look at ourselves and see how we can be better. So that's what we'll do this week.
What happened do you know what happened on the play with Jonathan Abram earlier in the game where it appeared like he tried to call a timeout and it wasn't given to him, so he was on the ground whenever the ball was snapped? Like, did the coaches not see that he was trying to call a timeout? Did the officials not see it? Do you know
Yeah, well, the officials didn't see it, and it happened right about the time that the, snap was being made. I don't think anybody really saw it in time to get the timeout called.
Obviously, there was a lot more to it on defense today, but the decision to stick with the corners on the sides instead of having Marshawn follow like they have in the past, was that a particular reason for that?
No, look, I mean, we matched them the first game, last year, and then the second game we didn't match, and so I think we have confidence in our guys, and I didn't feel like that was the challenge today, I felt like the challenge was the underneath throws that, became long plays, and the running plays that, became long plays because, we didn't do as good job getting them on the ground as we needed to.
And yeah, on top of everything else, the pressures that didn't result in sacks, keep the plays alive. Is that?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot to be frustrated about, and so there's not a lot of areas other than having 3 takeaways in the game. There wasn't a lot of areas defensively that we can, say was very good. And so we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how we can be better.
Can we talk a little bit about going down 17 and then really being able to rally? Can you tell us how the team was doing on the sideline?
Yeah, look, I think all the way through the first half, I think our guys were in it. Our guys were excited. Our guys kept battling, even with, losing guys like Chris Olave, who I think is an important part of what we do, and Tyrann Mathieu and some of those guys that, I thought our guys fought. There's a lot of energy in the building at that time. And it really didn't start to snowball until the second half.
Coach, a couple times with the check downs down to the running back, especially when linebackers came in through the A-gaps on blitz. Is that something where the safety has to come down and help, or is that a corner issue?
Well, I'm not sure exactly which particular play that you're talking about.
Came out on the wheel. No, that might have been the curl route that Godwin got down the sideline and was missed tackle.
Yeah, I'm still not exactly sure which.
Take time for one more, please.
Did you have any extra words with Spencer, or any counsel for him before his first start?
Nothing other than just go out there and go play. You know what I mean? Like, let's don't put too much pressure on this deal. Just go out and do what you've been doing since you were, that high, and go have fun doing it. And look, I thought early in the game, I thought he did some really good things. And then I think, as the game went on, the score changed, things became more difficult.
You stick with him through this as a start?
Yeah, that's my intention. Yeah. All right, thanks, guys.
Aaron Summers alongside Scott Shanley after the 51-27 loss to Tampa Bay. Talking to you just a few minutes ago and listening to head coach Dennis Allen, he said that the tackles, the missed tackles, it was atrocious, which is pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't. It was not good, and it led to a lot of those explosive plays. The 277 yards on the ground that the Bucs were able to get. How do you fix that? Because when you're practicing, you're not going live trying to tackle your teammates.
Yeah, no, that was disappointing to Dennis, I'm sure. Dennis has been here a long time. He's seen a lot of defensive football, been in charge of a lot of really good defensive football. And we opened it when John was standing here. Like, I think if you asked all three of us what was the biggest takeaway from the game, it was the bad tackling. And so for Dennis to go there and say, this game came down to bad tackling, and it really did. You can talk about all the other things. You can talk about Spencer's play and the receivers, Chris being hurt. It really came down to tackling, giving up explosive plays, guys trying to punch out the ball instead of tackle. And I kind of gave a little bit of an excuse because on a short week, your bodies aren't recovered the same way as a team that is fresh. But it's still the NFL. You still get paid to tackle people. That's your number one job. And it comes down to, Greg Williams, when he was a defense coordinator here for us from 09 to 11, he would always say, what's the most important thing in tackling? And everybody would give out these technique things, head across, wrap up. And he would always say, and it's the truth, tackling, the most important thing in tackling is attitude. If you don't have the attitude that you want to run through somebody and tackle somebody, you will never be a good tackler. So it really comes down to attitude, and I think that was part of the problem today is you started to see a team that didn't have the attitude to go out there and play bully ball. And Tampa Bay said in the second half, we're just going to push you around. We're going to hand the ball off every play. We're tired of this airing it out. We're tired of the ball getting tipped. We're just going to hand the ball off every play, try to stop it. And the Saints couldn't stop it.
Yeah, that mentality that you need to have, the aggressive nature that head coach Dennis Allen likes to play on the defensive side, they want to force turnovers and takeaways, and they had 3 of them in that second quarter. But there is a fine line between going for the big play and just taking care of the play that's in front of you and getting your guy down.
Yeah.
Like, how do you dance around that?
Well, I think, yes, as a defense, your number one job, you want to get takeaways. And this defense has been pretty good at takeaways, but you saw it was almost a moment of panic in the second half where it felt like we need to get the ball back every single time they throw it or every single time they run it. We need to go punch the ball out. And some of the explosive plays happened because guys weren't wrapping up. You can go after the ball. If one of your teammates has the ball carrier secured, now the second guy can go after the ball. But too many times the first guy was going after the ball, and the second guy thought, well, he must have him secured, and it was just opposite, and that's why you saw so many explosive plays. The long touchdown pass, some of the runs, it was just trying to go after the ball instead of getting the ball carrier down and playing the next play.
We're definitely going to follow a couple of injuries after this one, and most notably to safety Tyrann Mathieu, because that's already been an area where they have had injuries, with Will Harris not playing in this one, who had been the starter in the first 5 games of this season. So that's tough when you start having injuries piling up. Pete Werner, linebacker, didn't play in this one. They were able to get Willie Gay back, who was the only player that had a sack in this game. But with a short week, you're playing on Thursday here. How do you even begin to approach what to do to recover and then get ready for the next opponent?
Yeah, if you have a serious injury from today, you're probably not going to make it on a short week. That's always the frustrating part about playing short week games is it's hard to recover. A lot of times, even if you're healthy coming out of games, your body still hurts on Thursday. So you're trying to do what you can physically. I don't know how many of these other guys that were inactive today will actually have back for Thursday, but all hands on deck. You can if you're in the building and you're putting a uniform on and you're standing on the sideline, you have to be ready to play, and that's part of why as an organization you want to build depth. You get to a point where when you have a bunch of starters out, it's just you're going to notice it on the field. The Saints are probably kind of getting to that point. They're missing a lot of outstanding football players when you talk about Tyrann, Pete Werner, and you go down the list of guys, Taysom Hill. But a lot of careers have been made for if you're a backup, a lot of careers have been made by taking advantage of your opportunity and going out there and making plays on Sundays and hopefully Thursday night.
Jonathan Abram, one of those players that got pulled up from the practice squad today, was active and had one of those interceptions. So he is making the most of his opportunity, and he'll definitely be available if they want him again on Thursday. A couple of things that we haven't discussed yet, and it's a chippiness that comes with games like this. With a rivalry game, Bucs, Saints, always is kind of one that can be that way. There were a lot of penalties on both sides, especially as the game went on. They started really hurting the Saints.
Yeah, No, it was a chippy game, and I think it's kind of built into that, especially with the Marshawn Evans feud over the years, and Tampa Bay winning the division where the Saints were always in control of the division. So there is this, obviously Atlanta's the rival, but there is a rivalry in this game because both teams are good, and both teams are always battling for the division. And especially today, getting to 3-3 today was huge, and knocking them to 3-3. That's why this game was so pivotal. So I felt like early on that a lot of that chippiness was because both teams knew how important this game was. But there was just a lot of after the ball talking and just unsportsmanlike penalties that you don't want. Those you can't always control what happens in between the white lines, but you can control those type of penalties. You don't want to hurt yourself and set yourself back.
There were a couple that I wrote down just in like the third quarter. Connor McGovern had the face mask after a play that put them out of field goal range at that point. And it was still a game. They really could have used those points, that opportunity to let Blake Grupe go and kick a field goal there that would have been around 50 yards, but at least we know. I mean, that is his range. Yeah. And then there was the illegal shift on 3rd and 8 later that negated a Juwan Johnson reception for 30 yards that really would have helped them kind of continue to move down the field and maintain the ball. So it's penalties like that where illegal shifts are difficult. I mean, that's kind of a communication. There's some new people in. But the face mask, the unsportsmanlike penalties, I mean, that's stuff that is definitely going to get flagged when you watch film.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are plays, and you talked about it, Juwan's big play getting called back. Those are hidden yardage, that coaches talk about in the meeting room. You get all these hidden yardage plays that get called back. We always said 100 yards of hidden yardage was 7 points. So if you had all these penalties throughout a game and these big plays getting called back, you're hurting yourself maybe 7, 14, 21 points throughout a game. So there's going to be penalties in the game. When you have big, strong guys running fast into each other, things are going to happen. Inadvertently, you're going to grab a horse collar. Inadvertently, you're going to grab a face mask. But there are definitely things you can control. And I felt like a lot of penalties today were controllable penalties.
It was funny. We didn't really see anything between Marshawn Lattimore and Mike Evans. That was actually something we were looking forward to, and we didn't see any fireworks in that regard.
No, early on they went to Mike right away, and I thought this was Tampa Bay saying, okay, we're going after you today. But after that play, I mean, he had a couple catches. Unfortunately, it was Chris Godwin's day today, and he had a huge day, but Mike Evans wasn't a big part of their offense, and I think Marshawn always gets the best of him when they match up, but it was the running game and Chris Godwin who were the detriment today.
Yeah, Evans actually was, Adebo was on Evans a lot in this one, and he did pick up a penalty, but then he also came up with another interception. This is kind of what he does.
Yeah. Adebo Paulson, he's an outstanding player, but he's sometimes a little bit feast or famine. I jokingly said maybe they need to put like oven mitts on him in practice so he doesn't grab so much because he has so many penalties. And then what's he do? The next drive he comes back and gets an interception. So I said, okay, take the oven mitts off him. He needs to be able to catch the ball. But he's a good player, but he's an ideal sized corner. He's physical, he's aggressive, but he moves really well. And I thought Alontae Taylor, he missed probably his worst tackling game of the year, but he's also, to me, there's times where he makes plays that not a lot of DBs can make, and it's like, you get to the point where it's like, Alontae might be the best defensive player you have just by his speed and his aggressiveness, and he just always seems to be around the ball. Yeah.
He was somebody also that came out of the game for a little bit with an injury, but was able to return right before halftime. So that was good because we needed all the bodies that we could have in this one. Sounds like quarterback Spencer Rattler is starting to get ready and is heading towards the podium. So we will definitely keep ear out for that and head over to the podium as soon as he does get up there. It's got to be tough for Rattler to step up, though, right now and talk after this one. I'm sure he was so excited about getting his first start, his first, time in the NFL at all.
Yeah, I mean, he was the number 1 rated, high school recruit. He went to Oklahoma. He battled with Caleb Williams. He went to South Carolina. He was 5th round pick, which when you get drafted in the draft, you always feel like if you're a 5th rounder, you should have been a 1st rounder. If you're a 7th rounder, you should have been a 4th rounder. That's just a competitive nature. And so I'm sure he's going to go home. And because you didn't win this game, you're going to feel like it was a complete waste. But I think just like talking about the defense going in and watching the film, Spencer's going to go in and watch that film, and the coaches are going to say, you did this amazing. This was great. This is what we need to fix. And I think there were a lot of good things in this game today. I think they're going to have a good film session on it and encourage him and let him know you can play quarterback in this game.
All right, well, let's tune in to what Rattler has to say.
Shot ourselves in the foot a few times, made a few mistakes. Starting with myself, got to play better in that second half. But, we fought, we battled, and, we'll learn and get better from it.
Did you feel that Tampa adjusted in some way in the second half that created some issues, or was it just kind of sloppy play? Was it just kind of execution?
Yeah, they played more man defense, heated us up a little more, had wider ends because we ran a lot of keepers, a lot of boot outs. So, They definitely had a, good play in that second half. But again, it came down to execution, what we could have done better, what I could have done better, and what we could have done better as an offense. We had the defense on the field a lot, put them in a tough spot. So, we just got to convert and play better.
Did you feel enough good in your personal performance to give you some, optimism going forward that you can fix the other stuff?
I don't want to talk about myself. You know what I mean? I was, as a group, I was happy with what we did that first half, scoring 27 in the first half. Obviously, defense put us in great positions. Something that I didn't do was toward the end of the game, I didn't want to have a turnover this game. We ended up having two. So I got to be better in that area. But, I'm going to watch the tape tomorrow as a group, as a position group, and get better from it.
Have you gotten a chance to look at the first interception yet?
Yeah, it was man coverage. Actually alerted to it, had Shaheed, just underthrew it a little bit. 27 made a good play.
Spencer, how about your touchdown pass to Todd Means? It seems like you two really connect.
Yeah, no, I was definitely happy with, how Bub was playing. Was kind of quiet throughout the year so far, throughout these first 4 or 5 games, and he's been grinding in practice, and we've been talking about when your time comes, make those plays, and I was happy for him. I think he was one of our, leading receivers, and he made some big time plays. So we all just got to play better as a group.
How difficult was it to lose a lot of this?
It's tough, but he'll tell you himself, next man up mentality. It's unfortunate to see your top guy go down, really early in the game. So, I hope it's a speedy recovery. I hope he's back fully healthy, but, it's tough because we wanted to really get him involved this game.
We talked about camp meeting ago, but I'm assuming that means just some of the pressures they were bringing in the second half.
Yeah, I caused a few of those sacks, you know what I mean? O-line, I thought, fought their butts off all day, played really well. Thought we did some good stuff to help them up front, but just continuing to work that pocket, get the ball out, and, got to give credit to that defense. They played well in that second half.
You talked about the kind of the boots and some of the rollout. I mean, was that part of the plan? Did you feel comfortable in that type of approach?
Yeah, it worked really well in that first half. We were pinning those edges and really getting them on those fakes, and that gives you a lot of space, takes some pressure off your O-line, definitely early in the game, and stuff was coming open. I thought the tight ends did an amazing job of feeling that space in that zone that they were playing in that first half and making plays off it in that keeper game. So, we just marry that up with the run game, get that going, and, we'll be better. Got to get back to the drawing board and get to work.
What were your emotions like today? I mean, your first start, I know it's tough to talk about now right after the game, but your first start as an NFL player.
Yeah, felt very calm. Felt, it was fun. It was fun to be out there. Felt really good. And, definitely have a lot of stuff to clean up. First start, I'm going to be better.
Spencer, when you went to Oklahoma, did you ever get to meet Baker Mayfield?
Yep. Yeah, I was telling a story, when I was getting recruited there, I remember sitting in the coach's office talking with Baker. So it's cool to see him after the game. Showed a lot of love. I respect him, all the adversity he went through. Thought he fought today, till the end, and, did what he had to do to win.
What did he say to you afterwards?
Yeah, keep it between us.
You hear a lot about, the speed of the games. Did it feel fast to you out there? Did it not feel what you thought?
No, football is football at the end of the day. Obviously these guys are – every week you're going to play the best guys in the world. We got to execute. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot. I got to be better. We got to be better.
After a loss like that, what's the post-game vibe?
It's not a good vibe. You're not happy when you win. But can't hang our heads. We just got to keep chopping. You know what I mean? We got to keep chopping. You can't quit. So that's one thing we won't do.
You saw a couple of plays that safety would fight up as soon as you rolled out during the bootleg. Is that something that y'all saw on tape during the week?
They were just reacting how they reacted. We just read our play, read our reads, and there was a lot of good stuff in the boot game for sure.
What was Derek Carr like for you today?
Amazing. Just really talking to me throughout the game, being positive. Just saying, hey, go out there and rip it. You know what I mean? He was. You guys know how he is, very positive, and it was good to have him down there just to talk with throughout the game. Him and Jake both.
I was going to ask a little bit about Jake, because I said you were in between those two guys, like what kind of a role did Jake play for you today?
Yeah, he's very involved and always stays, paying attention throughout the game, and you got to respect that. Very smart guy, and he's just, hey, we didn't talk too much throughout the game. I was talking to Derek most of the time, Coach Janoko, but Jake always has great input, very smart player.
I know one of the big connections between you and Juwan ended up getting erased because of penalty, but he seems like somebody you were very comfortable going to throughout the game. What is it about him that gave you that confidence?
Yeah, that was a great route he ran. It was man coverage. He slipped that linebacker. That was a huge play for us, and we shot ourselves in the foot on that one. I think it was illegal formation, so we all got to be on the same page. But he's him and Foster both good security blankets to have out there. Two good weapons that can make plays on all levels of the field.
Just out of curiosity, who gets to keep the first touchdown ball? Is that yours or Bubba's?
It was in my locker, so I didn't make that decision. But I'm sure Bub will have one too.
I think I read where your first game in high school didn't go the best as a start. Is that?
It probably went worse than this, for sure.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have to find some encouragement to go forward, confidence.
yeah, I think you see a lot of guys in their first start. I'm not going to hang my head. I'm proud of what I did, what we did as a group, battling wise. We just got to clean up. That's all it is. We got to clean up, go through our reads, and just keep chopping wood. You can't hang your head after a tough loss like that. We all got to be better. Starts with myself.
How challenging is the negotiation when you're on the move between keeping your eyes downfield to see what potentially opens up, but also being aware of the pursuit around you?
Yeah, you just got to have feel. I think one thing that was positive is we didn't, other than the second play of the game, when I tried to throw a bubble too quick and dropped it, we didn't have any fumbles in the pocket. That was the goal, 2 hands on the ball at all times. Thought we escaped the pocket, well at times, and sometimes, they get to you. You always want to keep your eyes down that field and try to find your guys, but, sometimes that's just how the ball rolls.
Did you feel the crowd's emotion when you got introduced?
Yeah, it was cool. I've been a part of that a few times here, getting to watch the guys run out. It's an awesome feeling.
What's you took a lot of blame for things today. What's the biggest area, just without watching film, that you want to improve on from today to Thursday?
Just protect the ball. Don't underthrow it to let the guy make a play on it, and then see the dropper on an out route. Those 2 mistakes. That's what I want to get better at. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Guys. Thursday turnarounds are also crazy. If they want to improve on 3 days. Maybe it's good.
That was quarterback Spencer Rattler after his NFL debut, his first career start. He goes 22 of 40, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And if you watched the game, you could tell by his body language, he was not happy after those interceptions, rightfully so and understandable. And I'm sure he'll be watching film and getting ready for this Thursday night game because it is going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, battle of rookie quarterbacks, and I think there's another storyline. Maybe Thursday night there's
Is
a guy
there?
coming
I
back
haven't heard
into the
anything
building
about who will play in, who the head coach is.
Hoisted the Lombardi Trophy, so it'll be exciting. I think Sean is going to get a warm welcome, as he should. He did so much for this city and for this organization and this team. But once that ball's kicked off, the Who Dat Nation needs to come alive and make sure that Bo Nix and their rookie quarterback feels the heat from our crowd.
Hey, another opportunity for the Saints to prove themselves on a primetime stage. Almost had it in KC. Got to get it here in the Superdome against Denver on Thursday. For Scott Shanley, John DeShazer, I'm Aaron Summers. The Saints drop this one 51-27, and we'll see you back here very soon. Until then, check out everything that we have from this game and all week getting ready on NewOrleansSaints.com.